So, hello friends, today I'm going to show you a comparison I've been wanting to do for a really long time, probably a year or so, and then I always, there's always something coming up, I make comparison photos, but they don't came right, always a problem, but then finally I managed to get nice comparable pictures, and then I can finally say that I can make the comparison between the Nikkor 50mm 1.8G versus the Nikkor 50mm 1.8D. So let's start before going into the pictures with let's say external comparison, and then to do so I will remove the hood of the G version, which is actually included with the lens, whereas the D version doesn't have a hood. At least I didn't get one with mine, and then this takes me to the first comparison, and that's the price. So I just check it on the internet. The D version cost about $140 new, and the G version $230, something around that. So that makes a price difference of about 35%. And then, well, 35% is a bit too much just for the hood, so there is obviously a few differences that we're going to try to figure it out. So, besides other things comparing the lenses, the first thing that I check is the size. So, the D version is a bit more compact, although the weight of the two lenses is pretty much the same. So if you want a compact lens, D version is probably the way to go. If you don't care, you can take either the D or G. And then one thing that one has, and then is the D version, it has the aperture ring, which is this thing here. And then the main advantage of this is that you can probably take this lens, put it into a film camera, and then it's going to work. And then the other use that you can give to this aperture ring is to use the lens inverted. So you put the lens inverted in the camera and then use it for macro work, by the way. And these 50mm lenses are quite popular for being used inverted for macro work. Here at the 50 you can do the same thing, but let's say you have to find a way to keep this thing here open in order to the photo. So that's it, and here, well, you just move the aperture and then that's it. Then one thing, and then this is something I prefer, is that the D version doesn't have built-in motor, and then this means this lens is not going to fail because the autofocus motor failed. The G version, yes. And then what are the implications of not having a motor? It means that in Nikon cameras, the D version, the autofocus is not going to work on the entry-level cameras D3000 and D5000, and then starting from D7000 and then the rest of the cameras, this is going to work, and then the G version is going to work on entry-level cameras, well, in any camera. So probably this motor difference is one of the price drivers between the two lenses. Optically, the blades, you have the diaphragm here, and then the blades, just by checking at it, and the number seems to be the same. So besides that, I think that's all for the lens. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move to a bigger screen, and then we're going to check the comparison pictures between the two lenses, and then you will decide which lens is the right for you. So see you in a few seconds. So hello friends, I'm here. I prepared 3 different scenes for you, which for me they seem to be the most common uses of this lens. So one is landscape. So here I took the photo of this picture, yeah, like in the middle of the afternoon, and you will see that the differences between the lenses are actually really small. So here I have on the left we have the G version, on the right hand we have the D version, and then as you see this landscape photography from a distance, well, at least if you ask me, it actually looks identical. So let's dig a bit further, because here I took the focusing point here to be at this clock here. I obviously use it live view and yeah, zoom in, and just to have a perfect synchronization between the two lenses. And then as you can see here, which is 100% magnification of the image, the G version produces a bit more contrast here. You can see this on the lines on the clock, and then yeah, not much else. Yeah, it's just a bit more contrasted here around the focusing point. Chromatic aberration here on both lenses do seem to be the same. So here we move here down to this 3, which is just very close to the focusing point, so it should be also in focus. And then here, as you can see, oh, here I can notice very small difference in sharpness, but then yeah, here on this left here I am at 200%, so you can notice a very small difference on sharpness, but then here I am really pixel peeping. So for the rest of the image, as you can see, but images look very good. We can go here to the top of the image on the corner here. Okay, here on the corner we can see some chromatic aberration on the D version. On the G version we can see it, notice it a little bit, and then on the very corner we can see it appears. And then here on this corner we have this pine tree, and then we can, it is quite obvious that the G version produces a sharper image. Here in the corner, just let me go back, come on. Okay, here let's check also this corner. Okay, here on the corner is also better, but then here on the D version it produces this sort of creamy look, which is produced by chromatic aberration, which I kind of like it. I don't know if you like it, but I actually do. So here also here on these branches of the tree we can see that yeah, the D version produces a longer front focal focusing distance, so because here we can see in detail the branches of this tree, whereas on the G version yeah, it's completely, yeah, it's fuzzy. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. So what else can we check here? Here I saw something interesting on this pine tree, and then here you see the shapes which are produced by the coma of the lens here, and then you can see that yeah, these triangular stars are the same. Well, here on the G version they're a bit smaller because it has one aspheric lens, but then yeah, it's not actually not a big deal, at least in my opinion. So this is for 1.8, so we can see that the difference between the two lenses is actually minimal. So just let me go, come on, I just want to get the whole image. Okay, this is it. Now we're going to move to 2.8. So here and here, 2.8. Okay, now we have two images at 2.8 from a distance, and they actually look the same, if I can say that. Then we go again to the focusing point, and then as you can see, the difference, which was not very noticeable before, yeah, it has become actually less noticeable here on the focusing point, which is the clock. Then here on the on the top of the church we have this rooster, and then well, we can see it change position, probably due to the wind. But then here we can see a bit more details on the G version, but then yeah, the difference are actually minimal. Here on the background we can see those trees, and they look the same. And both lenses, if we go to the corner, we can see that still the G version here produces better quality on the corners, although the D version is catching up. So this is for the corner. Just okay, and then on the bottom corner here, yeah, still on the corners the D version is winning. But then let's come here to the central part of the image, as you can see in the center of the image, sharpness wise, both lenses are actually equivalent. So if you care essentially about the center of your image, where the most of the composition is done, and you can save 35% and then get a very good lens if you get the D version. If the whole frame is important, like in the corners here, and then you need to be precise there, I will go for G version. Okay, so this is it, and then I'm going to change to 5.6, and then here I think all the differences will be gone. Here in the center, let's check the trees immediately. Yeah, 5.6 in the center, there is no difference. Even the chromatic aberrations in both lenses are gone. Still you can see that the G version produces is a bit darker, I would say, and then here I would say, just by checking at the images in general, because the exposure speeds are actually the same for both lenses, I would say that the D version is actually a bit more open, yeah, fast, that's the word I was looking for. So the D version probably provides an advantage on fastness, and then this is important for low light situations. But then in general, this is it. Let's go to f8 just for the sake of completeness, but then I don't think I will go further, because as you can see, the images have become almost identical. Here you see f8 here, even on the corner here, images are actually identical. Here you see here in the corner there's a slight difference, with the G version being a bit sharper, but then otherwise yeah, lenses produce exactly the same images. So if you want some sharpness in the corner with your lens, go for the G version. If you don't care much and you just want to save some money, the D version is also a very good option. So then this is for the let's say landscape photography, and then we were checking some sharpness. Then here I made some photos with the very same lenses later that day, and then what we're going to see here is yeah, flare resistance, and then the point stars created by the lenses. So again, here we have the G version, on the right we have the D version, and then I intentionally took the sun here on the image. Here it was barely common, here it was already into the image. Then first thing you can notice is that the D version is flaring a bit, which is for me not a bad thing, because if you take the flare into the composition, you can get nice images. Here in this case it's kind of nice, whereas if your lens is yeah, is flare resistant, it's a good thing for some applications, but then for other yeah, you actually want your lens to flare. Then regarding the point star, so here I have the sun just coming in, here I have the sun here wide open. I like the shape the sun is producing here. So if I go a bit further, I think so this is 2.8, so I not get much here. I get some point stars which are starting to produce here. Here I don't have much yet. Then oh, wait a second, I took the wrong image in the wrong position. Then here, okay, 5.6, I don't see much. Here an f8. Okay, so this is, I will go all the way down to f16 here with the G version, and then with the D version, and then here you can see actually the difference. And then I was talking about before, it was about the what is that, yeah, the shape of the diaphragm blades, because here yeah, you have this on the G version, it is the diaphragm is a bit rounded, and then it produces this form of point stars, yeah, stars, and then it's actually producing some flare here. Whereas here the D version, which has rectangular and yeah, more polynomial, yeah, how do you say that in English? Okay, a more yeah, square shape, so it produces these really pointy, nice stars. So and then I can see there is also some flare here. So this is it. So I have for landscape, you see both lenses are really good. I thought I would prefer the D version because it produces these nice point stars, and then I kind of like these creamy images it produces, and then yeah, the creamy is as I said before, is due to the spherical aberration, and then I kind of like this effect of the lens, particularly in the corners. Okay, so now I took a different perspective, and then this is a most common use of this lens, and then I took this model, really nice looking model that my daughter borrowed to me, and then I took kind of portrait picture. Then I have this lens calibration target here just as a reference, and then these toys. Oh, they are pretty much, besides the calibration target, they are just toys of my daughter. And then here I have my model, and I took the focusing point here on the eyebrow of the doll, which has these nice lines, so they were a good reference for the focusing. And then, as you can see here, just in the eye of the doll, both lenses produce actually really nice image. The sharpness here, even on the hair of the doll, yeah, both lenses do look really good. Then here we have probably a few differences on the depth of field, because here, as you can see on the back hair here of the doll, it is a bit sharper here with the G version, whereas on the D version it starts to get more creamy. So yeah, so this is probably the difference that is produced because there is some aspherical elements on the G version. So I took advantage of this just to take a look at the bokeh behind, and then let's take a closer look. It is actually moving. Okay, so for me they do look quite similar, so here probably we'll see some differences. Okay, so here you can see this round shape is a bit more marked here on the D version, whereas here on the G version it is smooth. So I think this is because of the construction of the diaphragm. So we'll see that. Okay, so now I'm going to move to f2.8. And then here we see that immediately that the bokeh on G version gets a bit harder, whereas on the D version it remains a bit smoother. Then we go again to our focusing point, and then here it is actually impossible to say who is sharper. I can see more details on the face of the doll, actually dust, but then this is most probably because I was off by probably 0.5 millimeter on the focusing, and this is the kind of things that actually happen, and they're actually very difficult to get a perfect. Doing 2 times exactly the same photography is almost impossible. This is what I mean. Okay, so as we can see, in general, the G version is given more detail, especially on the hair of the doll, as you can see here. But then overall, let's say, if you show me a photo, well, these 2 photos of the doll, I would say I like both, because I actually do like both. Here on the toys, and the levels of detail on both are pretty similar, so I can say here that I actually had a very small difference on the focusing point, as you can see here. But then this is almost impossible to control 100%. Okay, so let's go a bit further on the aperture, so this is 5.6. So we can see on the G version the bokeh is near gone. On the D version it remains a bit smooth, which is a nice thing. And then I don't think, okay, come on, yeah, again the focusing point done on 2 lenses. The image is almost perfect, so I cannot say more about the sharpness of these 2 lenses. They both produce fantastic images. So just to finish, and then for completeness, just let me show you the image taken at f16, which is the highest aperture the lens can reach. And then, as you can see, on the background, the G version is almost sharp, whereas the D version produces still some bokeh. So this is all regarding the comparisons. Let's just take a look, not so close to your scene, to the door, but images look really good. So I cannot say much about it. Oh, there's some dirt on my lens. I see it here or on my sensor. Probably I will check that just after. But then, yes, I was telling you, this is it for the comparisons. As you can see, both lenses perform really good. So I actually have both, and then, as you can see, the applications are a bit different, because yeah, the D version is just a little bit less sharper, but then it has some more advantages, like, well, being smaller, being cheaper, and then having a smoother, a larger bokeh range, as we just show here on the background. So it makes it a nice thing for portrait photography, whereas the G version, which is a bit more sharper, it has more contrast, and then I would say it's more general photography, so you can take it to the street and do many things with it. And then the disadvantages are obviously that it's a bit bigger, and then obviously more expensive, but overall 2 lenses are really good. So anyone you take is a good choice. So this is all I wanted to show you and share with you today. So thanks for watching, and see you next time. And then if you haven't subscribed, just don't forget to subscribe. See you.